everyone. Um, yes, hello and welcome. Today, there's some interesting stories today. So, let's get started. Let me move this a little bit. Okay, so we'll start right off. Cardinal Zen had something to say about Kissy. So, Tucho Fernandez claims that LMNOP concubines can be blessed out of pastoral love. Holy Scripture says that pastors must bring back those sheep who have gone astray, writes Cardinal Joseph Zen on his blog on January 21st. Tucho seems to be saying that LMNOPs can receive a blessing as a couple, suggesting that they can continue to live in the wrong, i.e., sinful way, Zen observes. He adds that Fernandez often emphasizes that confusion should be avoided, but that his blessings actually create confusion. More serious is for Zen the idea that there can be something good in LMNOP behavior, that it can be compared to marital love. This is an absolute subjective error. According to objective truth, the behavior is a grave sin and can never be good. He also said, if the prefect of the dicastery for the doctrine of faith calls a grave sin good, wouldn't he be committing heresy? Good question, Cardinal Zen. And you're the expert. You tell us. He said, shouldn't the prefect resign or be dismissed? Well, under a Catholic pope, yes. Um, Always the messenger, never the pope. Okay. But instead of dismissing Kissy, Pope Francis had something to say. He thanked Pope Francis thanked the Vatican press corps for this is the quote, the delicacy which you often use when speaking about scandals in the church. There are so many, and I have often seen in you a great delicacy, a respect, and almost, I would say, shameful silence. Thank you for this attitude. Francis is thanking journalists for covering up scandals. So then, this is why we haven't heard the McCarrick scandal. But I think we need to continue to talk about it. And, I've been talking about it on this channel for a long time. Same old thing, same thing to say, but I just keep talking about it because guess what? We haven't seen anything productive. So we wanted to see who is in the McCarrick network, and Vigano told us, and of course they're good friends with Pope Francis, and so none of them lost their jobs. In fact, the only person that lost their job, McCarrick, of course, he was laicized by the Vatican, yay. But Cardinal Wuerl was the only one who supposedly lost his job, but he actually was assigned to a job in the Vatican, and now he's retired and he's making a lot of money from the Archdiocese of Washington, so he didn't lose his paycheck. Lost his job, but not his paycheck. And so Cardinal Wuerl was the only one to lose their job as a result of the McCarrick scandal, and not even not even directly. I mean, I guess maybe directly for being associated with McCarrick. I mean, Wuerl said, this isn't some massive, massive scandal. So, a lot of Americans, well, a lot of Catholics disagreed. A lot of non-Catholics disagreed. It was a pretty massive scandal, I would say. So there's that. Okay, so Francis is thanking the media for covering up scandals. So that's big news. It really is. That's why probably we haven't seen as much of Rupnik as we should have. Eventually, Francis was forced to respond to the Rupnik situation. And oh, speaking of Rupnik, there's a story later on. Hold that thought. Let's move back to Kissy. So it was admitted it was discovered that he published at least 3 additional books to the ones that we are aware of. Um, so in 1995, he published a book called "Heal Me with Your Mouth: The Art of Kissing," which is why we give him the nickname Kissy. And then the latest book, well, not the latest, but before this news, uh, it was discovered that he published another book, one far more disgusting, called, or it was published in 1998. So he published one in 1995, then 1998, and there was an Italian website that discovered at least 3 publications in which Tuccio produced after 1998. They also indulge in fantasies about fetishes and other perv topics, proving that Francis's right hand man is a perv. So, um, yes, there is not a lot to say about that. So, all right, good evening. You know what's interesting? Um, it's always tricky because I don't know how my Wi-Fi. I don't know how well my Wi-Fi is doing, so it's always tricky for me to see any statistics um, of anyone joining the live stream. But anyway, all right, the big news. The headline news today is that there's a Latin Mass at the Capitol building. So 1 year after the FBI's Richmond office sent out a memorandum outlining an investigation into traditionalist Catholics, a Latin Mass was held in the U.S. Capitol with the support of House Speaker Mike Johnson and 2 other Republican members of the House. Mike Johnson is not Catholic. However, he encourages Latin Mass because the FBI is spying on traditional Catholics. Is that it? Did Francis give the FBI permission to spy on them? Anyway, that's an unanswered question. Ryan Ellis, a board member of the Arlington Latin Mass Society and lead organizer of Tuesday's Mass, this was last Tuesday, told The Pillar that the Archdiocese was not given advance notice of the January 24th event, and that the Arlington Latin Mass Society had not sought permission for the liturgy to be organized despite the restrictions of Traditionis Custodes. The quote is, "The concern was that Cardinal Gregory calls the Speaker's office and cancels the thing on us." Huh. That's a concern for most Catholics who attend diocesan Latin Masses. Before the Mass began, attendees were reminded that photography during the liturgy was not permitted and that the priest celebrant should not be publicly identified, a condition to which the pillar agreed when invited to attend the Mass. Why were they invited? They're Novus Ordo. Why were they invited? They're not traditional. The Catholic News Agency also published an article on this. Because the priest was not identified, it would lead me to believe that the priest was a diocesan affiliated priest. So it's highly unlikely that it would have been a religious order like the Institute of Christ the King or the FSSP, because both of those religious orders do not have parishes near Washington, D.C. I think the closest would be the FSSP parish in Baltimore. Of course, I could be wrong, but that's a decent distance away. I think some of the conversation on Twitter, there was speculation that it could have been a diocesan priest from the Diocese of Arlington. Of course, this was the Arlington Latin Mass Society, so who knows? It's certainly a possibility. It would be doubtful that it would be an SSPX priest, because then they wouldn't really they wouldn't be so secretive about the identity of the priest. I don't think that the SSPX would necessarily publish the information, but I don't think they would prohibit it from being published. I guess if you can understand what I'm saying in that regard. Of course, the spying was directed against the SSPX, so that's kind of interesting. But of course, we are, the Catholics are being targeted by the FBI. You should know that. And it's really not diocesan Latin masses that they're concerned about, I don't think. It's probably more of the SSPX masses. So it seems as though they're more of a target. Um, if you have any thoughts on that, let me know. Or if you have any additional information. Apparently, there were like 60 to 70 attendees. The Pillars reporter Ed Condon, he had a really cringe reaction to his attendance there. He said, "I didn't attend as a attendee. I attended as a journalist," and he was kind of disturbed about attending an unsanctioned mass. The one thing, I felt like I was gonna sneeze. Sorry. The one thing is that people will see what's going on here, and they'll see that they can have private Latin masses. If you have, a chapel area available, or any kind of, not even a chapel, because it was set up in a room on a table. The altar was set up on a folding table in a room, but it's the Capitol building. I mean, they weren't even allowed in there even just a few years ago. No one was allowed in there, or at least, you know, no one who, what do I say? No one who is affiliated with the political, the political elites was permitted in there for a few years, and now they're having a mass in the Capitol building. I mean, come on, this is big time. I mean, this wasn't. What is this? Did a mass ever take place in the Capitol building? That's pretty unbelievable. Okay, and historic. All right, there we go. Getting back to Rupnik, the Vatican's foreign minister and priest at the Secretariat of State Mass on January 24th used vestments featuring Rupnik's 2015 to 16 Year of Mercy logo. The Mass was to mark the 200th anniversary of death of Master Diplomat and former Secretary of State Cardinal Consalvi. So he would have said the Latin Mass, and now the priests are wearing Rupnik's vestments. So there you go. Do they still have Rupnik books? Is his art on the Novus Ordo books? Like the Novus Ordo, like Sunday reading books, whatever they are, the ones in parishes that most parishes have. From, is it Oregon Catholic Press? I don't know. All right. J.D. Flynn comments on Francis praising journalists who cover up scandals. So I talked about that story, but he said here is, but there's an interesting bit of information from him. He said, coupled with that is the fact that the Vatican's own McCarrick report. Oh, I was just talking about this. At least one member in the Vatican's McCarrick report, at least one member of the Vatican press corps conceded he hadn't pursued rumors about former Cardinal McCarrick because he was concerned in part about losing the cardinal as a source. The admission has led some critics to speculate that the established Vatican press corps is not always zealous about covering abuse and misconduct, and for some, the Pope's praise for their discretion seemed to confirm theories about a back-scratching symbiosis between the pontiff's men and their local court reporters. Give me 1 second here. Okay. I just need to... Hold on. Okay. Hard to do a live stream when you had to sneeze, and then you did sneeze. Not, as far as I know, I'm not sick. I hope I'm not getting sick. That would be disappointing. All right. He said, okay, so one of the Vatican's press reporters said he didn't even pursue rumors about McCarrick. There you go. And they're still not pursuing them. I wonder if they're being paid off. That's a serious question. Was it a question? It was maybe, okay, serious statement, not a question. He said, I can also recall the time when a ranking Vatican official chided me for hurting the church by reporting the existence of a Vos Estis Lux Mundi investigation. He asked me why, if I am really a Catholic who loves the church, I would shame her by reporting on the fact that a bishop was under investigation. I think about what happened a few years ago after the Pillar reported on the misconduct of a ranking ecclesiastical official in a leadership position. And here I assume that J.D. Flynn is referring to Monsignor Grinder. He says, soon after, an American bishop approached me privately to say that such reporting would ruin people's lives, and that if a cleric eventually took his own life because of our reporting on his misconduct, well, that would be our responsibility to bear before God at our judgments. If a priest goes to hell because he is meeting up with men every single day, wouldn't that be the bishop's responsibility who knew about it? Wouldn't that be on his soul? If a priest is molesting children or teenagers or seminarians, adult seminarians, I have to specify that because Cardinal Supich doesn't think it's a big deal, apparently. Is that J.D. Flynn's fault if he gets caught? If that priest would get caught, is that his fault? This is disgusting, and this is what the bishops stand for. They stand for cover-up. They stand for the cover-up of scandal that Pope Francis is encouraging. Disgusting. This isn't the Catholic Church. It can't be. But we have a patriotic bishop. Father Thaddeus Wang Yusheng was consecrated bishop of Zhengzhou, China, on Thursday, bringing an end to the 70-year-long sede vacante. That means the vacant seat of the bishop position, not the pope. Sede vacantes. But the Holy See press office announced on Thursday morning that Wang was appointed by Pope Francis as the bishop of Zhengzhou on December 16th, 2023. So it was announced last week, but he was appointed bishop December 16th. Usually if the Vatican's reporting bishop appointments, it's within the day or within 24 hours. Yes. The report noted that the decision took place in the framework of the provisional agreement between the Holy See and the People's Republic of China. So what that means is the Chinese government appointed him bishop, and they told the Vatican. Okay, the Vatican Fides News Agency, which is part of the Dicastery for Evangelization, added that his appointment was also favored by the direct contribution of the various components of the local church according to the criterion of synodality. Favored by direct contributions of the various components of according to the criterion of synodality. So synodality means that the Marxist government, the totalitarian anti-Catholic government, gets to decide who a bishop is. There you go. So why can't North Korea have Catholicism under the France? It's the same thing, right? Synodality. Let me get to that in a sec. I don't have any links for that. But anyway, in a statement published by the official website of the Bishops' Conference of the Catholic Church in China, on March 22nd, 2022, Wang was elected as the bishop-elect of the Diocese of Zhengzhou. Oh, wait. So it took the Vatican over a month to announce he was appointed bishop. He was approved by Francis, and the Chinese government actually appointed him bishop over a year and a half. Over a year and a half before. From December 2011, he was a parish priest in Huiji district in Zhengzhou, as well as chairman for the Henan Catholic Patriotic Association and deputy director for Academic Affairs Committee. And in January 2023, he was elected as the rector of the Diocese of Zhengzhou. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that was a whole year ago. What was a whole year ago? Time flies. Okay. So let's get back to the comments. I'd rather have a CCP bishop than a Francis bishop. Well, that's actually an interesting interesting thought, because of course they stand for abortion and whatever else that China stands for. The Francis bishops, of course, they don't oppose it at all. They actually like Marxism as well. And some of them are rainbow bishops. The commie appointed bishops are not in schism, while the SSPX are, according to the haters. Imagine that. Yes. Yeah, the Pope splainers, and that's the problem. So Francis, the devil likes confusion. We've had nothing but confusion in the Francis Church. And the Pope splainers are attempting to justify that confusion. And I think they're horribly mistaken. I think they are very horribly mistaken. And if you want to have peace of mind, don't follow the Pope splainers online. So that's Lofton, and he has some, I don't know if it's burner accounts on Twitter, possibly, but these guys have blue check marks. Oh, you're meeting friends in the live chat. Okay. So on Twitter, there's these guys with blue check marks, and they make money off of ad revenue, just like I do on YouTube. I make a total of like $3 a month. I think one month I got $4. I think that was I was really breaking the bank. I had to figure out what I could do with that extra dollar. Maybe save it and I'll get a penny in interest. That's pretty good. Okay, but I want to share a comment on my last EVTN news video, and there's negative comments sometimes, but it's very interesting. I don't take negative comments personally. It's just, I don't know. It's not really a big deal, but I figured I would share this one. So this must be a new guy who isn't familiar with the traditional Catholic faith. Seems to be kind of one of the modernists, but he said that first he did the LMNOP, except he did the letters that they use. I of course use LMNOP for a reason. He said first it's LMNOP, that's code language, and then And why, after 4 days, am I the first to comment your live stream was dead? I think you're fudging your amount of subscribers. You young reactionaries are interesting. That's quite a conspiracy theory. I have all of my statistics public, and it's not good. I mean, my statistics aren't great. Like, no, I'm not getting the numbers that Taylor Marshall gets. I'm not even getting the numbers that most people get, quite frankly. I do this to share the news with you guys, and if I had zero people watching, I would quit because I don't want to talk to myself, you know. But if you guys feel like you somewhat benefit from any of this discussion, great. I try to share the news that I find, and much respect for the beard, though. Thanks. Yeah, I try to find news that maybe from different sources, and I try to share this information with you. It's I try to do my best, and I don't try to do a lot of predictions. I mean, I'm not. I don't know. I feel like the people that make predictions on YouTube, a lot of times they're wrong, and then once they're wrong, it's like, okay, you kind of lose your credibility. Now, what I can do is read between the lines and see where things are headed. And I'm not always right with that judgment either. But if I can kind of see some indicators and you guys can see where it's going, then yeah, that's it. So okay, the Synod is in October. Do we have anything else coming up? Nothing, nothing predicted. But I do think it does seem as though, and I don't want to predict this, but with the what do I want to say? The rapid the rapid acceleration, the rapid no the I don't even know what I'm thinking. I want to say the LMNOP Blessings document was released very quickly, much more quickly than most people anticipated. It was released in what, December, and the Synod was in October, and people said, well, there's nothing that came out of that Synod, and so they'll wait for a year to try anything, and they didn't. They went in December. Now Kissy, he had all these information about books, and now it's okay. But Francis knew about it. He knew about, apparently, did he know about all the books that Kissy released? Did he read them? But he was fine with it. Just like he was fine with all these guys until the media finds out about their crimes, and then he ditches them. McCarrick, uh, McCarrick took the fall, and then Whirl resigned, but didn't really have much else to do with anything. And Francis even said, "Oh well, you didn't really do anything wrong, but I accept your resignation." And yeah, it was, you know. So, I mean, Francis surrounds himself with shady characters, but Fernandez is a guy who runs his mouth, and he's not that brilliant, really. I mean, theologically, he has he is not defending the Catholic faith whatsoever, and he's clearly um, trying to deviate from the Catholic faith. And so I expect married priests to come up, and that discussion may occur prior to October. LMNOP, I think LMNOP is okay for now. They're okay with where they're at for now with LMNOPs. Germany, the German bishops might try something. I'd be interested to see what happens in the United States with the high-ranking bishops that are LMNOP supporters, like Tobin, McElroy. Supich just seems to just hate everything. He seems to be really really what do you say? Not a pleasant person to be around. No one really seems to like him. Bishops don't seem to like him. His priests don't really like him. Lay people definitely don't respect him. That's for sure. But then the women deacon thing, women deacons moving to priests. I mean, keep a real eye on that. Keep a close watch on that because they want it. These modernist heretics want women priests. Okay. Didymus, I grew up in the book, so I follow Catholic news closely. Hey, John, I have a question. I have been spreading the word of the Catholic faith, the one true faith, and you wouldn't believe the amount of Protestant hate I've been getting. Do you experience that? Um, so, no, I don't really get much hate because I don't get many views. It's mostly EVTN news. This isn't really the purpose of this channel has become to share the news. That's sort of do that. Now, Catholic Family News is SSPX um, they support the SSPX, and so if you go, I'm sure they're sharing similar news stories. Their news programs they have weekly news programs. They're just a lot longer than this. Um, so I don't know that I'm doing anything necessarily unique, but I'm just glad that the people um, people will find my information helpful, and I absolutely try to post my sources. That's pretty key. That's why I like what Frank Walker does, is that he posts his interpretation of headlines, and then you can click on the link, read it for yourself, and make your own decision. And of course, he posts funny headlines, but it's usually not clickbait. Like, I have to say, I read a lot of LifeSite news articles, but sadly, I think some of their headlines are a little bit clickbaity. I hate to say that, but um, yeah, they do. I mean, they do decent work. It's just that they also need clicks. I I'd like to do a little bit more with this channel, but I'm also content doing book reviews because I really like a lot of the books that I've been reading, and I get hardly any views on the book reviews. It's just not. Um, I mean, I guess in terms of ad revenue, that's absolutely not profitable for me, but it doesn't matter. I'm doing it anyway. If I got 0 views, then no. Nope. I wouldn't do it if I got no views, but I'm trying to share traditional books with others. I'm trying to share traditional books with others, and if you've read the book, leave a comment. Let me know what you think on my book reviews. I mean, I appreciate anyone who likes those books, and I just noticed there weren't hardly any Catholic book reviews online, and if I can share my thoughts, then I'm more than happy to do that. John, your channel is great. Bunch of good people in the chat. Your book reviews need to be longer, at least 5 minutes. Well, I guess. I mean, if I tried, really my goal was to make them kind of short because then people are more inclined to watch them. It seems like they tune out after a minute in a lot of videos. So maybe I'm just not a good presenter. I mean, it is what it is. Sorry. But anyway, that's kind of a lot of rambling. It's hard to put a camera in front of your face and just go without a script. Maybe I need to start marking pages and reading quotes or outlining certain things. I don't know, but I don't want to do spoilers either. And at some point, it runs into copyright restrictions. I watch long videos. I like presentations with sources shown. Yeah, that's definitely copyright. That definitely runs into copyright restrictions, especially for the books that have been published within the last like 80 or so years. Although I'm not reviewing a lot of books that were written recently. A few of the ones coming up will be, and that's the problem. So, okay, that's it for this video. Until next time, thank you. No, I have one more thing. Okay, so I said about So, Justin, okay, I was worried that would happen. Oh, the internet, my internet blinked. I was worried about that. Okay, so I was talking about Justin Welby, the fake Anglican bishop. He's really good friends with Pope Francis. So there's a photo of him giving Pope Francis a blessing, and of course Pope Splainers try to defend that, which there's no defense for it. His blessing's fake because he's a fake bishop. So if Francis were Catholic, then he would have known that his blessing meant nothing. I can do this, but it doesn't mean anything, right? um, I can wave, I can wave my hands like it's a blessing, but that doesn't make it a blessing. Uh, he celebrated a fake liturgy in a Catholic cathedral, which here's a red pill. JP2 allowed it in 1993. He permitted that. He permitted heretic services to be performed in Catholic churches. He allowed it. He said that it can be done. It's a 1993 document. The Pillar, I think, wrote something about. If you want to check it out, they wrote something about Welby. They call him a reverend. He's fake. He's still fake. Doesn't matter. But they showed there's a picture of him holding up the Eucharist. No, holding up a host that looks like the Eucharist that they use at Novus Ordos. The large host, the big one. He was holding it up just like a Novus Ordo priest would, and I thought, well, that's kind of the what would you call it? That's kind of the what you could use to as a joke in regards to the Eucharistic revival. So of course, it didn't happen in the United States, but there is an Anglican, a split parish in Virginia where Anglicans and Catholics, where there's the Catholic Mass, the Catholic Novus Ordo Mass, and the Anglican Heretic Service. It's back to back, so the parishioners stay for both. And unless bishops condemn that kind of nonsense, then your Eucharistic revival, people are just going to be even more confused about a Eucharistic revival and what does it mean. So, and Pope Francis, by allowing an Anglican heretic to say a liturgy in a Roman Catholic Church, that's a disgrace. Bishops should condemn it because it completely undermines any effort of a Eucharistic revival. But will the USCCB condemn it?